Welcome to Find Myself Free, the podcast. I'm Ellie Young, alcohol-free life coach, mom, and athlete. I'm dedicated to helping others change their relationship to alcohol by sharing my journey of transformation. Fascinated by my own capacity for change after decades of gray area drinking, I'm passionate about sharing what I've learned from neuroscience and positive psychology to help you break free from the drinking cycle and unlock your true potential. Hear my personal stories of triumph and struggle as I navigate raising two boys, finding myself after 40, building a business, and doing it all alcohol free. From women's health and cycle syncing to fasting and biohacking, this podcast is your roadmap to a healthier, purpose filled life that starts with changing your relationship to alcohol. It's time to embrace change, find balance, and create the life you were meant for. Welcome to Find Myself Free. Hey, everybody. Before we get to the show, I wanted to invite you to check out my new free resource. It's called Breaking Up with Booze. Check out the link in my show notes. But essentially, this is just a free guide where I break down the two most common beliefs that are keeping women stuck in the drinking cycle. Now, I know what you need. You want to feel confident socializing alcohol-free. You want to be able to manage your stress, but without the crutch of alcohol. And ultimately, we all want to experience joy and connection without the hangover. So this is a completely free resource that you should check out, Breaking Up with Booze, because I know you are finally ready to level up your health. So check it out today. Head on over to my show notes and get the link. I hope to see you there. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Find Myself Free. Today is the last day of dry January, and whether you made it or not, a little bit or all the way through, I wanted to give you some tips today about bridging the gap between what is next. What is going to carry you forward to that future self that you're after, that is part of the whole reason you decided to do dry January in the first place, right? Is you were craving something better than what you were experiencing. You wanted a shift. You wanted a shift in your relationship, your health, your mental health. And dry January was kind of this tool, right? But now that it's coming to a close and we've learned a lot about ourselves and our relationship to alcohol, I wanted to provide you another kind of tool that can help you re-engage that motivation and that inspiration inside you to continue to connect to that future self, that other version of yourself that you're like, I know I'm meant for more. I know I'm capable of more. I know I have more to give, and that there's certain things that keep holding me back. Alcohol is a huge one, a huge thing that holds you back. But in what other ways are you holding yourself back from taking on more positive change in this way? So one of my favorite books of all time is called Be Your Future Self Now by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. I've read all of his stuff. And so I'm going to take some of the themes and tips from his book today and apply it through the lens of someone who has just completed dry January and is like, I'm at a crossroads. What do I do next? Right? So this is going to help you bridge the gap between becoming your future self after dry January. Okay. So dry January is an eye opener, right? Like whether you crushed it, struggled, or realized you needed more support, this experience revealed what is possible for your future self. And it revealed a lot about your relationship to alcohol. And hopefully you started to understand how much of that programming isn't ours. It's been subconsciously programmed into us through the culture. And what it brought up for you is identifying all these reasons why you drink, like all of the jobs that we've given alcohol. And then we're starting to question, like, whoa, was it actually working for me? Was it really doing a good job? Right? So right now you're standing at that crossroads. You can either slip back into these old habits. And unfortunately, if you think that you nailed it and that you can go back to some version of drinking that is like there's a healthy and balanced way to do it. I encourage you to do what feels right for you, but know that the way alcohol works on our brains and the pathways that have been formed around this type of addictive substance, they are very, very well grooved. And even though we might consciously think that we have control over our behaviors with it, you will find that it pulls you right back into an old neural pathway. That's just the way our brains work. And 30 days is not long enough for you to really form these new neural pathways that can overpower an addictive substance pathway And again, it doesn't mean you are addicted. It doesn't mean you have some sort of shameful diagnosis or anything like that. It just means this is what an addictive substance does to a human brain. And so we have a well-grooved pathway in there, and we have carved a new one this month, but it is a baby. It is a tiny little pathway compared to the, I like to call it the Autobahn of drinking behavior in your brain. It's a massive super freeway, right? And your brain likes to go on that one because it's more familiar, because it requires less energy. So, of course, this is always going to continue. You have to continue to work on it. I am actually here to motivate you to go 60 days, to go 90 days, because it's it's that length of time. And there's going to be slip ups along the way that you have to get under your belt to experience real cognitive change in your brain that allows you to wake up and start literally experiencing a different experience, right? So let's get into today's focus. Again, we're going through Benjamin Hardy's principles that are going to help you create a vision, a mindset, and an action plan that's going to help you step fully into a future self that is thriving alcohol free. Whether you say you're going to give it up forever or not, you don't have to. You can just say a vision, a version of yourself that is actually thriving, that doesn't feel deprived, that doesn't feel like they're missing out, right? They are actually benefiting from 3 months alcohol free, right? So part one of his book is called the seven threats to your future self. So these are the things that could sabotage you, right? So number one of these threats, these are the obstacles that are keeping you stuck in old patterns, is not having a vision of your future self. You're not connecting to this person. If you don't define yourself alcohol free and enjoying it and thriving, you're going to default to old patterns. If you're like, well, I'm a drinker and I'm trying not to drink, that identity is setting yourself up for failure, right? You actually have to imagine yourself, and it can't be a lie. You have to really believe and get really, really connected to this future self and define what they're doing. Like, what do you want to be doing a year from now? Do you still want to be living your weekends kind of mildly hungover every day and kind of like wishy-washy about whether or not you're going to get that workout done or stick to your diet plans, or do you really want to like be like, I have made progress on these things in my life that are really important to me, right? That are driving this dissatisfaction in my life because I'm not living in alignment with the person I want to be, right? So what would you change if you continued on this path? Connect. Imagine the exercise here is to actually write a letter from your future self to the you today, but you write it in the present tense as if all these things have already happened. Like, this is how I wake up. This is what I do during my day. This is how I live my life. This is how I feel. This is what my relationships look like, right? So you really want to connect and get a very, very clear vision of who this future self is and how they behave and how good they feel. And what this does is it allows your brain to sample that future chemistry. It is like, oh, that feels really, really good. There's a tiny little new neural pathway in your brain. It has seen it, and now it's going to be looking for opportunities to make that future self come alive. If you are still stuck, if you haven't connected to this person, you're like, I don't know if I can do it. I might be able to change. I don't know. And you're still kind of wishy-washy and vague. Your brain has nowhere to go. Your brain has nowhere to go with that positive energy and that momentum. It's just like this vague unknowing, right? And so it stays stuck. It stays stuck in those familiar patterns. The second threat is you're avoiding necessary change. So the fear of the discomfort of change, it keeps you stuck, right? Alcohol is, at the end of the day, it's a coping mechanism. It's a comfort seeking ritual. So pulling back from that, it's uncomfortable. It makes you face emotions head on, face discomfort head on. And what I have to remind you is that this discomfort, it's allowing you to feel things that are necessary. Anxiety is a necessary part of the human condition. It is telling you, it is alerting you that something needs to change. Ooh, I don't like this. I'm really uncomfortable with this. This is worrying me. What can I do about it? If we are constantly avoiding that discomfort by numbing it, by being afraid to change and eliminating that coping mechanism, we stay stuck. We don't grow. The growth is in the discomfort, and it's not going to last forever. I have to talk to my clients about this a lot. They're like, I'm really uncomfortable right now. This process is really uncomfortable. These things that I've been drowning out for years, kicking the can down the road, not dealing with, it's uncomfortable. But you won't feel like that forever because eventually you're going to figure out a solution to what you need to do. You're going to be able to get out of your situation. You're going to be able to change because that irritation, that anxiety is there to help you change. So don't numb it, don't dull it. Stay in that discomfort, right? So that you can grow. And a lot of times we think this discomfort is like this great abyss. Like once I stop drinking, it's just like this bottomless pit of pain and suffering and no fun and stuff. And what you find is that it's really quite shallow. You're like, oh, I was uncomfortable for like a bit. It was like this step. I thought it was going to be falling into an abyss. And instead, oh my gosh, it was just a step down. And now here I am, and it's not so bad. And I can get through this. That is what it feels like for most people. Okay, the third sabotage is not investing in yourself. Now, this doesn't have to mean money. This can mean you're not seeking support. This can mean you're not finding resources to support you, like podcasts, like content, like books. It could mean time. You're not investing time into the type of change that is necessary, right? Because if nothing changes, if you're just trying to pull back on your drinking and nothing else changes, nothing changes, right? You have to commit some time to this type of change. And that usually for me and my clients, I say, as I recommend minimum of 10 minutes a day, surrounding yourself with inspiring content, journaling about this type of change that you have going on, reading a book, whatever it is, but you have to commit to doing something different. You have to commit to giving yourself a different experience. And this will keep you accountable. It keeps you with some skin in the game, right? Hiring a coach is huge because all of a sudden, yes, you've invested money and you now have skin in the game. You now have a date on a calendar where you're going to meet with somebody who's actually going to say, hey, for this designated time today, we are working on you. We are working on this habit. We are working on your neuroplasticity. We are working on your mindset. And so it can't just be something that you're like, I would love to do that. And I thought about it once and I might have bought the book or maybe I bought the course or maybe I signed up for this thing, but then I actually didn't do anything. I didn't commit to the 10-minute time frame. I didn't commit to that little piece of it. That's where change lives. It lives in the consistency of showing up and doing the small amount of work. You don't need to change all at once, but consistency over time, that's huge. So not investing yourself is a huge one, right? How can you invest in yourself today so that your future self is like, yes, you did it. You put in that time, right? Number 4, staying in an environment that keeps you stuck. I talk about environments a lot in my coaching because our environments are shaping us, right? There are old triggers, there are social settings. These are going to pull you back into that familiar pattern. The brain is looking. It is looking for opportunity to go, hey, that looks familiar. Let's go on to that drinking track, right? So if you are continually putting yourself in these same environments, that the outcome you got from those environments was a version of yourself that drank, you're going to be fighting your brain the entire time, right? We have to design our environments for success, right? Who and what you are it's about the environment you are placing yourself in. What are you surrounding yourself with, right? So I want you to think clearly about how you are setting yourself up for the future by paying attention to the environment you're placing yourself in. And it's not just your physical environments, it's also the mental environment you're placing yourself in. What content are you consuming? Who are you hanging around in? What is their influence on you? How does that influence the way you think and feel about certain things, right? And again, this is temporary. You don't have to avoid people forever. You don't have to avoid places forever. But in the beginning, until you build that foundation, it is super important to curate your environments to shape you into the person that you want to be. All right, next one is letting your subconscious identity hold you back, right? Okay. Our identities and how we speak to ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, how we label ourselves, it really matters the language we use. If you still see yourself as someone who struggles with alcohol, or I'm a drinker and I'm trying not to drink, or I have a bad relationship with alcohol, you're going to act accordingly. You have to reframe it You are already becoming someone who thrives without alcohol, right? I am in the process of becoming a person who thrives without alcohol. I am in the process of making alcohol small and irrelevant in my life, right? You don't have to do this huge jump to a full switch and try and say something that doesn't actually feel true to you, but you do need to stop identifying as somebody who can't do this, right? Somebody who struggles, somebody who's like has all these things working against them, whatever that is, whatever story or whatever narrative you're telling yourself. Like, I always fail. I can't do this. I've tried this before. Nothing works for me, that kind of stuff. You need to reframe it and say, I am a person who is in the process of becoming the best version of themselves right now. Reframe it, a positive thinking goal. My favorite that I like to share with somebody is I am nourishing myself, mind, body, and soul, right? Alcohol does not sync up in that identity at all, right? When I think about I'm nourishing myself, mind, body, and soul, I think about all these positive, amazing things I'm doing for myself and how that sets me up for my choices with the environments I'm placing myself with the mental energy that is fueling that. It feels positive. It doesn't feel like I'm looking back at this past version of myself that's stuck, that's negative, that's sad, depressed, anxious, that's stuck, right? So I'm looking ahead to this future identity and I'm crafting it and I'm telling myself positive things so that it fuels me with positive emotion. All right. Next up is being reactive instead of proactive. This is huge, right? If you don't plan for the tough moments, the cravings, the stress, you're going to fall back into old habits. It's just what it is. A big portion of my Nourish and Flourish course, which we're having our last call today and we're wrapping up the month long, was cycle syncing our nutrition. It's looking at our month ahead, paying attention to what our hormones are doing throughout our cycle and when things are going to be more challenging based on our hormonal health, right? It's like forecasting the weather. And so I tell them you have to plan ahead for these times when you know you're going to be a little bit more vulnerable, when you know you're going to need more rest, when you know you're going to need more self care, more nourishment. And so if we aren't planning ahead for those times and we're just scheduling our lives and showing up the same way and not considering this, not considering, ooh, that might be a difficult thing for me to be in, and not planning ahead, oftentimes we can't get out of these things, right? Sometimes we're like, yeah, we got to go to our kids' soccer tournament or whatever it is. But then planning ahead and going, okay, how otherwise can I support myself in these environments? You need to plan ahead with your toolkits, right? For my people on my course, we have these your go-to kind of sobriety toolkits when it's like things that are going to boost your dopamine, things that stimulate all five senses so that you have this little kind of go-to bag of things that are like, ooh, I feel a craving. My brain is actually craving dopamine right now. Here are five other little things I can do right now that are going to still start boosting dopamine that actually love me back, that aren't a toxin, that aren't going to make me feel ashamed and sabotage my health, right? And so that's the kind of stuff you plan ahead for. You plan with your non-alcoholic drinks. You plan activities that don't revolve in an environment around drinking. You plan little snacks for yourself, little escape routes if you need them, scripts to tell people, well, hey, I'm not drinking tonight, something to say so they don't feel put on the spot, right? All of these things can be built into a toolkit. And it's because you've done the prep work. You didn't just show up on a Friday night and be like, well, I didn't think about this at all. I'm just going to rely on willpower. You've actually said, oh, tonight's going to be challenging for me. What are some things I can bring for myself? What are some, maybe I don't go at all, right? Like thinking ahead, planning ahead so that you can be proactive instead of reactive in these situations. Because when push comes to shove and we get into a place where we're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, our brain is going to default to the most familiar self-coping pattern that it knows, and that is alcohol. And it'll come up with some narrative about why it's okay. It's just one. I'm just going to have one tonight. You've been good all week. It's no big deal. Everybody's doing it. No one would judge you. It's fine. Whatever it's going to tell you to try and make it seem safe and benign. But at the end of the day, you know it's not what you want, right? So don't let yourself get to that point. You have to be proactive at shoring up all of these ways in which alcohol is going to come for you, right? She's a sneaky little bitch. She tries to find her way in all these different ways. And having done this work, you are shoring up your foundation so that you are prepared for this, right? All right, then the last threat is lack of confidence and self-belief. Your brain is going to try to pull you back into old behaviors because this is what feels safe, right? Your brain is trying to protect you. And a lot of times when we get stressed and uncomfortable and things become overwhelming, there's a part of our psyche that's like, "Hey, you don't have to feel this. Let's just numb this." It is not conscious. It's not consciously telling you, "Hey, let's numb this." It is just trying to help you pursue that dopamine that it knows it's going to get from alcohol. It's like, "Ooh, we have learned in the past dopamine isn't just a feel-good chemical. It helps you learn, it helps you remember." And so it knows, hey, when I'm in pain and I drink this substance, oh, I experience relief temporarily. It doesn't make the connection to 20 minutes later when your brain releases dynorphin and you feel like shit. And then that cycle starts of the anxiety, the depression, and then we want to drink some more. And it's just this craving loop goes on and on and on, right? So we want to believe that we can do this. And if you aren't confident, if you haven't established this identity that I am actually okay not drinking, I have worked on these subconscious beliefs that try to sabotage me, I know better. And a lot of times this is tricky too, because the information that we've learned about alcohol in this course, it's information. It sits in your subconscious, it starts to impact you, but it's not transformation, right? It's not until we really, really investigate those beliefs that are sabotaging us and saying, oh my gosh, it's not me. It's not my lack of willpower. It's not my lack of motivation or discipline that keeps me drinking the alcohol. It's this deep-seated belief about alcohol that's sabotaging me. And I feel like I'm not strong enough to overcome it, right? I get this all the time. Like all my clients, they know everything there is to know about alcohol. They know how bad it is for themselves. But when they get in these moments, they still, it overrides this belief that like, it's better to not feel this discomfort and to drink the alcohol than it is to stay in this discomfort. And I don't blame them. I was there for a very, very long time. I was stuck in that same place. So we have to rewire that belief and be confident that just on the other side of that discomfort is growth, is change. And the more consistently you are able to do that, the stronger that habit becomes, the stronger that pattern becomes of going, oh, that's right. I didn't have to numb that. I'm okay. And I believe in myself. I have confidence in myself that I can get through these tough moments, right? All right. So next up, we're moving into the part 2, the future self truths. So this is truths about yourself. This is how you reprogram your mindset for long-term change. So truth number 1, your future self is your greatest guide. Instead of looking at who you have been, ask your future self for guidance. This is like something you can do in your journal. What advice would my future self give me right now? Okay. How are they living their lives? What has been working for them? You don't have to wait to start living that way now. You can say, oh, my future self is living this way. I'm going to start living that way right now. Okay. You don't have to wait for motivation. You don't have to wait for the stars to align and everything to be perfect in your life. You can start with 3 tiny little micro commitments. This is what I'm going to do. These 3 things today for my future self, right? Truth number 2, you become what you repeat. Your future self is built from the small choices you are making every day. So we're going to reframe. Each alcohol-free day is another step towards effortlessness, to making this something that I don't even have to think about. It feels so hard and so difficult right now, but eventually you get to this place where you don't even consider alcohol because you no longer believe it's serving you. You no longer believe it's doing anything good for you. You have reprogrammed your brain to fully see it as the toxin that it is, and you are fully believing in all these other practices that are helping you become this future self that you want to be. Truth number 3, your identity, again, shapes your behavior. Instead of saying, I'm trying not to drink, say, I am a person who thrives alcohol free, right? Align your daily actions with who you are becoming, right? What are they doing? And why do you have to wait? Why can't you do that now? Truth number 4, when you change your environment, you change your future. Your future self lives in a different space than what you are currently living in, right? The environment was producing the results that you're currently getting. How can you shape that environment to produce the kind of person that you want to be? So think really, really hard about this one. How can you tee up your environments? How can you shape them? How can you make it easy for your brain to do these new habits? This is just neuroplasticity. This is hacking. If you put yourself in an environment with other people in other communities that aren't drinking and they are all inspired and like trying new things and trying to be healthy, and you can build on their momentum and that confidence, it's contagious, right? Your environments are contagious. They are telling you, cueing your brain to either go one way or the other. So think about your environments. um, all right. So the next part is we're getting into our future self steps. Okay. How do we wrap all this up? How do we make this real? So number 1, I want you to get clear on your vision. I want you to write down who your future self is, physically, mentally, emotionally. What are the biggest benefits you felt during dry January, and expound on them? How can you hold on to them? How much better can it get? And if you've only strung together a few days here and there, and then you had a drinking episode and you strung together a few days there, know that when you get to these longer stretches and you give your brain and body more time to heal, the benefits just go up exponentially. After 60 days alcohol free, your brain health, it's like you wake up. It's like there's this big shift, and also your liver health makes notable changes after 60 days. So hold out for those big, big, big health benefits because they are coming for you. They are right there. The longer you go, the better you are going to feel. Um, Step 2, set new goals and challenges. Keep moving the bar for yourself. Extend this alcohol-free experiment to 60 days, 90 days, 6 months. Imagine. Focus. The next stage of this, after you get alcohol out of the way, is you get to focus on your gut and hormone healing. And that is incredible because alcohol was just sabotaging both of those systems, wrecking your immune system, your sleep, your hormone health, your metabolism, not to mention your brain, your bone health, your cardio, your heart health. Um, some of the things that we move on to once you've got alcohol out of the way is cycle syncing, detoxing, which is actually supporting our liver. Once our liver has healed, after we've removed alcohol, your liver can actually do what it's designed to do, which is detox all this other stuff from your body, right? And it's incredible the health benefits you can get now that you have a full, normal working liver. And lastly, we get into functional nutrition strategy. So most of you know that I'm in school to become a functional integrative nutrition practitioner. And the way we can use food and supplements and herbs and spices to, like medicine in our body, it is just that next level of healing. And it's a completely different relationship to food and your body than we've ever had as a woman. Step 3, create a support system. Okay. Now, this can mean a community. This can mean a Facebook group online. This can mean girlfriends that you run with that are also trying to remain alcohol free. I was a part of all of these things in my early days. And I also hired a coach, right? And so that's partly why I'm a coach now, is I got so much out of that. And again, it was about the intention. It was about the accountability, but it made me have skin in the game. It made me show up to this type of change that I wanted in my life, so that it's not just like this, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could be this person or do this thing? It was like, no, I'm putting like my flag in the sand here and saying, I'm going to show up and work on this. That's where real change lives. If nothing changes, then nothing changes. If you're buying the courses and buying the books and you're not actually listening and you're not writing things down in your journal and you're not focusing on it and saying, what needs to change here? then nothing's going to change. We did this for a long time. We've probably tried several attempts at changing our relationship with alcohol in lots of other different ways. But until you put pen to paper and you put yourself in these environments and you start digesting new content that's going to shape you, that's where the real change lives. Okay. So get yourself into a support system. That's where that environment, that's where all of the growth is going to live for you. Number 4, shift from deprivation to empowerment. You are not giving anything up. You are gaining mental clarity, better sleep, balanced hormones, emotional resilience, right? You are gaining a version of yourself that is going to set an example for your kids that is so incredibly powerful, that is so inspired, that is someone full of integrity, that it's it's priceless, this version of yourself that you're sharing with your kids, okay? Um, this isn't about restriction. This is about freedom. Freedom. Imagine how it would feel to not even think about alcohol, to not even it be a factor in your life, to not have an impact on how you live your life. It's a powerful place to be when you free yourself from this. You feel like you've truly leveled up in the world. And once your brain wakes up after those 60 days and your health starts to skyrocket, it's the sky's the limit. You can do anything. Step number 5, take action and build momentum. Your future self is waiting for you to show up. What is one thing you can do today to step closer to her? Again, information is not transformation. You have to take this information and you need to apply it into little tiny micro commitments. 3 little things you can do today. How do you build on that momentum, right? Shape your environments. Choose them wisely. Get inside a community. Dry January was just the start. What you do next determines your future. So if you're ready to build on this momentum, of course, I would love to work with you. I am offering a 4-week. This is very different from my normal coaching packages. My normal coaching packages are 12 weeks because I believe that's the minimum, bare minimum, in order for you to make significant change. But if you have already done Dry January and you want to try and see what a one-on-one coaching environment would look like for you, I'm offering a 4-week one-on-one coaching package. This is going to help you step fully into your alcohol-free future self. So you can set up a free call, DM me, and you can set up a free call just to hop on and see if we're a good fit. No strings attached, absolutely not. But if you just want to see how we vibe together, ask a few questions, and just get to know me a little bit better and my style, that call is absolutely free. And if you decide you want to move forward, this 4-week coaching package is perfect way to step into this intention to keep going and find out what is on the other side of this growth. Just how much alcohol's been holding you back. Just imagine, connect to that future self that is thriving. All right. That is all I have for you today. As always, I am with you. You got this. I'll see you next time. Hey, you've just listened to an episode of Find Myself Free. And if some part of this left you wanting more, if your curiosity has been piqued and your intuition is telling you, I'm ready for more, then check out my coaching offers at findmyselffree.com. I have the Brave course to help you break free from booze. And I designed this course with the exact lessons that led to my transformation. I also have the Balance Challenge for those ready to learn the art of cycle syncing to balance their hormones. If you're looking for additional support and to take either of these programs to the next level, I also offer one-on-one coaching. Now, I worked with a coach for 4 months at the start of my alcohol-free journey, and it made all the difference. Being able to talk to someone who knew what I was going through and could help me navigate my new world gave me a foundation of support I could build on. And it's a big reason why I'm a coach today. I want to help others find their freedom and level up their health. If this sounds good to you, connect with me at findmyselffree.com and set up a call. Listen to your intuition that is telling you you were meant for more. I am with you. You got this.